Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to the latest episode from Bitcoin for Beginners. In this video, we are going to be talking to Nik Patel. Nik is the author of an Altcoin Trader's Handbook, and we discussed the book in detail. We discussed trading and market psychology and lots of stuff that you will find really interesting. Okay, so a couple of points I want to make. This is not a sponsored video by Nik. I actually went out and bought the book myself, and after reading I decided that I wanted to reach out to Nik to see if he could spare me some time to just have a chat about everything that is included in the book, why he wrote it, and basically we just end up having a discussion about pretty much everything. Secondly, when it came to creating the interview, unfortunately Nik didn't have a working webcam, so it is audio based, but I have created some little motion graphics to accompany the audio. However, feel free to just stick your earphones in and listen along whilst you're doing something else, whilst you're driving the car or doing housework or whatever it is everybody does when they're not watching videos. So all that said, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and leave your comments and thoughts below. So that's it from me, and we'll start with the video. Okay, so firstly, Nik, I just want to thank you for agreeing to come on the channel and chat with me today. I really appreciate your time, and I know you're busy with lots and lots of things going on at the moment.
That's quite all right. Thank you for having me.
Right, so I can't remember exactly when your book came out, but it's sort of within the past 12 months, isn't it?
Yeah, it officially was published in June 2018. So yeah, literally just what's that? 5 months ago. Yeah, yep. 5 months ago. Yeah.
So for anybody on the channel that's not seen Nik's book, it's an altcoin Trader's Handbook.
A bit of a mouthful.
Yeah. I've currently got a copy in my hand, and I've without sort of blowing your trumpet or anything, I've read it twice. I intend to read it several more times because there's so much information in it that you can't just sort of breeze through it and then remember everything. I've gone through it and I've highlighted paragraphs and stuff, and it's just so good.
Yeah, that was kind of the intention, was to write a book that was. I wanted to keep concise, and I think I have, because it's 240 odd pages, so it's nothing like what many non-fiction books tend to be. But I wanted to have it so sort of information dense that you'd probably need to go over it with a highlighter and just read it a couple of times, go, this bit of information is interesting, and that was kind of the idea.
Yeah, and I love at the back, chapter 5 is really the nuts and bolts of it compressed down to just a couple of pages. And it's almost a step-by-step guide to successful trading.
Well, yeah, that was one of the things I definitely wanted to include, because I think the problem you find, there's not really many altcoin trading books around. It's not really a big thing yet in terms of actually having some literature to read. Yeah. But I wanted to include some sort of breakdown that people could easily follow, because I've read other trading books and just general market psychology books, and everything always feels quite abstract. And I wanted something that was very, very practical and applicable.
Yeah. Okay. So, that definitely answers the question I was going to ask as to why write the book.
Right. I can elaborate on that, because
Go for it.
The original idea was that I wanted to create some sort of online learning school, like an e-school where I would do live seminars and classes and whatnot, and it would just kind of be open. But because of the capital costs of something like that, I would have to charge. Even if I'm charging cost for the program and not making any profit on it, it would still be so extortionate that most people wouldn't be able to join. So I was thinking, well, what's the most practical way for me to get this information out where, everyone in the space will be able to afford to buy a book, because it's literally 2 cups of coffee. And I had just graduated from uni doing English literature, and writing's just been a constant in my life. So I kind of thought, well, I'll put two and two together. And there isn't really an altcoin trading book on the market at the moment. And so in September 2017, I thought, well, I'll start writing the book, and that can be a way where, for minimal cost, I can get out all of this information in a compact form.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned about studying English lit. Does this mean that this is going to be the first of many books for you?
Maybe not cryptocurrency books. I mean, I definitely want to do a revision. I think there's stuff I've learned over the past 6 months even that isn't in the book. And, with the coin reports I'm currently writing on the blog and stuff like that, I'm learning much more about what more I can be doing. Mm-hmm. So there's definitely pages I want to revise. And, one of my good friends in the space gave me a very critical review of the book. And, he was positive about much of it, but also saying there's so many areas where you can go even more in depth. So that's something I'm definitely going to consider. Maybe, start writing it 7-8 months down the line and have it out sort of winter next year, perhaps.
Yeah.
But in terms of cryptocurrency books, I don't really. It's not really the sort of thing where I want to keep, writing books on. I'm quite happy with what I've put out, and I think a revision will be plenty.
Yeah.
But in terms of other writing, definitely. I mean, I love writing creatively. I just love writing in general. So anything non-fiction, fiction, it's probably something I'm going to continue to pursue.
Brilliant. Well, we should. I know I will be keeping my eye open.
But I think the first half of the
memoir,
book, the memoir, that was kind of me going, well, this is some sort of way into potentially writing fiction in the future, because it is kind of a story. And I thought, well, for people like my mum or dad who maybe aren't as interested in the manual section but still wanted to read the book, they'd have 50, 60 pages of just hilarious stories from the past 4 or 5 years.
I have to ask, actually, because reading the memoir, it kind of reminds me of a bit of a Cinderella story, because you start by making pretty much every possible mistake and someone new to trading. Yeah, and I've got to ask, is that genuine non-fiction, or is that a blend of fact and fiction?
No, that's everything that happened as it happened. I had to go back and ask other people in the space whether I was portraying certain stories accurately, because I couldn't quite remember. I was 18 at the time when I first joined the space, and so much had happened between then and when I started writing the book. And so there were stories where I was like, it can't have been that bad, could it? And then I've gone back and asked the other people that I sort of joined the space with in 2013, 14. And they were like, yep, that's pretty much it. So, yeah, that was the roller coaster of the journey from sort of February 2014, when I first put my first bit of money into the space, to today.
Well, it makes me feel better, because at least then I know I'm not the only person that's made those sorts of mistakes.
It's human psychology, though, isn't it?
Oh,
I mean, especially those early mistakes where you see a bunch of green flashing lights on a website and you're like, oh my God, this is just going to keep going up, and you buy, and that just happens to be the top. And it's the same on the way down. You see lots of red and you think, wow, this is just going to keep falling, and you sell. And obviously, in hindsight, it's like, well, it's the opposite that you should really be doing.
Yeah. When you're talking about your trading and some of your first successes, that you attribute them to pattern recognition.
Yeah.
And you explain that you saw the charts and you sort of saw how cycles were repeating, and then started to identify charts that didn't look like the pumps that you'd missed out on. And I was going to ask, do you think that was vital to all of the early success? And do you also think that pattern recognition is something that someone either they have the ability to see those patterns, or they don't have, and can it be learned?
So in response to the first part of that question, I would say that it probably attributed to, a fair amount of the success that I had during that time, but the vast majority was luck, without doubt. It was just luck. I rode my luck for the first 6 to 8 months of being in the space. And I'm not ashamed to say it. There's lots of things I learned over that time. And, as I write in the book, I developed my own technique of sort of order book reading, which really helped me kind of step up the game. But no matter what, it was predominantly luck, because there were pumps everywhere, and you could throw a dart at a board and just pick any coin, and you'd probably make money if you got the right price, the right entry.
Yeah.
So I think a lot was to do with luck. But pattern recognition is very, very important, I think, because it manifests in all different ways, in all aspects of analysis, whether it's fundamental or technical, because if you're looking at a chart, you're looking at similar patterns repeating. If you're looking at a project, you want similar patterns of success in order to lay some sort of roadmap for the future. You don't want to see sort of poor deviances from that roadmap, because that's not something that's going to be profitable for you in the future.
Yeah.
You want tried and tested methods, really. I mean, obviously, there's space for innovation, which is one of the major areas of where you can capitalize on, but you definitely still want those fundamental strengths there that are in all strong projects. So I think pattern recognition is very important, and I think it's definitely a learned skill. I didn't have a clue what I was doing to begin with, but over time you spend the hours researching and observing and paying attention, and slowly you start to pick things up.
Right. Okay. So you mentioned then order book reading as well, and I know that you go into a fair amount of explanation in the book. But for those that haven't read the book and haven't heard of order book reading before, could you sort of give an explanation of what it is and why you think it's so powerful?
Sure. So order book reading is basically just observing the market orders that are being placed and removed within the order book of an exchange for any given market. So, let's take, for example, I think I give the UBIT against Bitcoin market pair on Bittrex as the example I use in the book. And let's just say on Bittrex exchange, you've got a buy side with a specific amount of orders and a sell side with a specific amount of orders. All you're doing with order book reading is looking through those orders, trying to spot either patterns of order size or order placement. You're looking for large orders being placed on the sell side, which then naturally pushes price down. It suppresses price because the vast majority of market participants are going, oh my God, we're never going to get past that huge order. Let me sell into what will usually be that individual's buy orders, and then the reverse happens on the way up. So it's just a technique that I developed of looking through those orders and spotting patterns that would allow me to then know whether I should be buying or selling.
Obviously, learning technical analysis and techniques like order book reading and price action analysis is going to be an ongoing thing for anyone new to technical analysis. And I think even experienced traders are probably still learning new techniques and creating new techniques. But where would you say would be a good starting point for anybody getting into trading?
I think you should take a look at the babypips.com forum, because there's tons of free material in there on price action trading. There's, hundreds, if not thousands of pages of different people contributing their thoughts and opinions and examples of various price action tools in those pages. And that's a really useful resource, a really useful free resource.
Yeah.
And then I would probably say, even the basic things like horizontal support and resistance, you can find on Investopedia. Like, it's very, very simple things that end up being the most important things. I don't tend to use much more than support, resistance, some trend lines, and looking at the volume on the chart. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
As for order book reading, I had to develop that chapter for the book by myself. There was nothing. When I first started looking at order books in 2014, there was no resources on what that was, and I don't, even when I Google it now, there is nothing.
Yeah, to be honest, I'd not heard of order book reading until I read your book, and it's, to me, I can see the sense in it, but I think I'm going to have to spend some hours.
It's a bit overkill.
Yeah, I'm going to have to spend some hours in front of the computer. Really,
it's not, and I don't think it's a necessary tool in order to be successful. It's just one of many that, if it works for you, you can implement. That was kind of the idea of having like a wide toolbox, and then each individual person is going to have their strengths and weaknesses, and they can kind of pick from there what works for them and what doesn't.
So you said that when you're looking at charts and stuff, you tend to stick with very simple analysis using support, resistance, trend lines. Is that it then? So you know, in the book you talk about, I think it's Fibonacci. Extensions.
So there are a couple of more complicated. Well, I mean, they're not very complicated, but they're more complicated than horizontal support and resistance. There are a couple more of those tools that I do use in those techniques, which are Fibonacci, extensions, and retracements, which is just a set number of a set list of numbers or ratios between movements in price. So, you know, like a 23.6% retracement would be a Fibonacci retracement, or a 61.8% retracement. So that's one tool. I mean, I don't really use it that often anymore. I was using it more so when I was day trading and short-term trading, but for longer-term positions, it's really not that useful.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you mainly use it now to sort of find set targets for selling?
Yeah. So the Fibonacci extensions are still useful because you can use them to set price targets for selling on the way up. If you go beyond an all-time high or whatever, and there's nowhere else for you to kind of chart, then they're quite useful for figuring out exits. But yeah, Fibonacci retracements I don't really use anymore because I also don't buy on the way up. Whereas that's something you can do if you're sort of day trading, because you can get in and out within a day, and it kind of works. But it's not really the sort of thing you want to do if you're in longer term positions like I tend to be nowadays.
I was just going to ask actually about timeframes, as to I know that you don't day trade anymore, so are you looking at sort of setting trades for the months ahead?
Yeah, I mean, in general I tend to now set and forget pretty much, in terms of I don't keep funds on exchanges, so I can't set exit prices, but I'll set buy orders. And once they're filled, remove the coins from the exchange, set alerts on different targets, and then it's just kind of forgetting about it until those targets hit, and maybe just monitoring on a weekly basis what's going on in the markets in general. But generally, I tend to buy and hold for a full cycle, which could be 6 months to a year.
Right. In the book, a lot of, if I can remember in the dates correctly, I think a lot of your success comes in sort of late 2004, and then you take a hiatus and you come back sort of for, is it 2016, 2017?
Yeah, so I took a hiatus around summer 2015, I think it was, or late 2015, around then. And then it was about a year off that I took just because I was going into my third year of uni and just wanted to concentrate on that. And then it got through to January 2017 when I decided to, start trading again, because I had minus 1,000 odd pounds in my overdraft, had blown through the money that I'd made in the preceding years, just on uni costs. And then I was like, right, what do I do now? I knew that I could probably make some money trading, so I was like, right, I'll return to this. And then from January 2017 till now, I've just been full time.
So my question is, I think that obviously you have been extremely lucky, and you are not the Messiah. You've not nailed that yet.
Are you sure?
Do you think there's still space in the market as it is now, going into the very end of December 2018, to create that same sort of return that you experienced in those two markets? Because we don't see, or we don't hear as much about the mid and low cap coins exploding 500%, 1200%, as much anymore. It doesn't seem to be as commonplace. So do you think there's still... I
think that's a symptom of the sort of extended bear market that we're currently in. And, there are signs of reversal here and there, but we are still very much within this bear market. And I definitely think those returns will be possible going forward. But over the past 9 months, they haven't been so common. I would say that now that the market has, retraced in its entirety, like probably, what was it, like 85% at its trough in August. That's a huge retrace from those highs in January. And so I wouldn't doubt at all that you're going to get people over the next 12 to 24 months making similar returns to those that I did.
Yeah.
And I think it's just about finding the right projects at the right prices and just holding on.
Yeah, so this sort of links into doing the research and finding the right project. In your book, you do lay it all out, and in your sort of market outlook and the coin reviews that you're now publishing on your blog, you sort of do the work for us.
I kind of do the work for myself and then publish it.
Yes, that's true. But I do you think your approach to researching these is linked somewhat to sort of studying and the way that you would research at university? Do you think that those skills have then bled into how you approach? I
hadn't actually thought of it that way, but that makes a lot of sense, because having had to do, extensive research for dissertations and whatnot, I can definitely feel that those similar study patterns then come into what I'm doing at the moment with my sort of coin reports, which end up being 5,000-6,000 words long, similar to the lengthier essays that I would write at uni. And they take a good 12 to 15 hours to research and write. So I think you're probably onto something there. Yeah. But I also don't think that it's just a factor of me having been at uni. I think anyone can put in that work.
Oh yeah.
It's just whether they have the hours to do so. Most people work full-time jobs, and it's pretty difficult to put in 15 hours a week into a single coin's research. And if it takes you 2-3 weeks to do it, then it's probably not worth it, because everything's going to have changed in that 3 weeks.
Yeah. So with the market outlook and the coin reviews that you're now publishing, I know you say that you do it for yourself and then you publish it. Why are you not monetizing it? Which is something that in this space is quite easy to do, and could be very
lucrative. Yes,
with the amount of work that you put into it.
I leave a lot of money on the table by not monetizing so much stuff. But I mean, to be honest, it's not really. I don't really need to monetize my readers of the blog. I mean, I already have a book, so if they feel guilty about getting all that free information, they could just buy another copy of the book if they wanted to. But my sort of ethos has always been that I want to provide all of this information for free, because it wasn't provided to me when I was beginning.
Yeah.
And I think it will just help a lot of people. And I'm not a saint. I'm doing it because it also increases my authority and credibility in the space. And it's kind of a vanity project when you have your own blog and it's getting so many thousands of readers a month and whatnot. And it's just quite fun. It's kind of like a game, really. I make sure that everything remains fun, and that's what this blog is as well. Me spending 15 hours on a coin report, sure, it's great because it provides me with further insights and other people with further insights, but I wouldn't do it if it wasn't fun.
Right.
And also on the monetization front, I can always monetize without monetizing the audience. For example, in the future, if you had projects wanting objective coin reports, then there could be sponsored posts or something. There's always B2B monetization rather than me monetizing my audience, which I never want to do.
Yeah.
I was thinking also in the future, like maybe 6 months down the line, I might even release coffee mugs with the branding of the book and all that sort of stuff. That it doesn't make you much money, but it's just fun.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different things I can do with it. I'm just making sure that I provide good quality content and material now for free.
I mean, there's so many people shilling whatever coin that they bought 6 months ago and they're trying to get rid of. So it's really nice. I mean, I read last night the coin review on co-vesting. And having read the book, I can it just makes sense to me.
why I've gone, okay, this seems like a good opportunity.
Yeah. So it's really nice to see the amount of attention to detail that's gone into it and stuff, rather than as with some other outlets that review coins and stuff. It seems very flaky, and
Yeah, and I mean, it's the same thing. Money in this space is a weirdly contentious thing, because you have people on both sides of the argument. They're set in their trenches, whether you shouldn't have paid groups, you should have paid groups, you shouldn't take money to do sponsored posts, you should do that, this and that. There's so many different people with so many different opinions, but I think the only thing that's actually important is whether you're providing value to the people who are consuming your material. That's it.
A quick question that I've written down, more so actually for me, because after reading the Altcoin Traders Handbook, I've decided that I want to sort of read a lot more literature specifically, rather than just sitting in front of the screen watching YouTube videos. I want to dig in a bit more into literature and the information out there on the technology and the markets. What do you have any books that you would suggest, or any content?
Okay, so I mean, there's not many regarding altcoin specifically, and I don't actually think there is one that approaches it in a similar way to mine. There is definitely a cryptocurrency traders handbook, which was released by someone I follow on Twitter, and that's much more of a sort of matter of fact, here's what this indicator does, here's what this means, all that sort of. It's more like an encyclopedia for traders rather than a framework for trading, I think. That would probably be very useful to beginners. And then there's other books that I haven't read, so I couldn't recommend, but I can mention them. Chris Boniski has a book called Crypto Assets, which is very popular. Regarding trading in general, I like Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas, and I like all of Alexander Elder's books. They're much more market psychology focused, but I think that's invaluable. I think that's probably the most important thing to learn.
I just want to point that out, actually, because you have a picture in the book, and for anybody that doesn't know what we kind of refer to when we talk about market psychology, if you just type it into Google and look at images, there's
the Wall Street cheat sheet.
The Wall Street, and it is amazing how obvious this sort of market cycle is, especially in cryptocurrencies. I mean, you see it time and time again repeated in pretty much every single chart from like October last year to sort of February, March.
It baffles me how obvious it is, and yet how many people still fall to the same psychological mistakes. And that's why it works, because people will always fall to those mistakes.
I mean, it's ingrained in us, isn't it?
And it's just everything is really just about being able to control those emotions, and that stems from your relationship with money. Over leveraging yourself and risking money that you need to pay rent with, then you're probably going to be much more emotional about the decisions you make. Whereas if you're putting in money that you can afford to lose, that isn't really going to make a huge loss on your life. If you were to lose it, you're going to be much more comfortable and make all the right decisions.
I know that when you were about 80% down, you said that you kind of just forgot that money that you started with existed, and you just went forward with the mindset of the money that you had was the money that you started with.
It's a really difficult thing to do, I think, but it's such a useful psychological trick. Because it's two completely different ways of looking at the same scenario, and two ways that manifest in completely different results.
Well, I mean, by letting go of that, you relieve the pressure from yourself, don't you?
And you're not trying to revenge trade your way back.
I saw on your Twitter that you are working with Proof of Review.
I am indeed.
So tell us a little bit about that, sort of what Proof of Review is, what will you be doing with them, and how it came about.
Sure. So Proof of Review is a project that is focused on creating an environment of credibility and validation for altcoin developers before they launch their coins, so that they have, a clear standing in the community, where anyone who wants to point their hash at this launch can go, actually, that's a legitimate, a credible developer. I'm going to use my resources on their project. And I think that's what they're aiming to do, is to have like a catalog of reviewed projects where you can go to their website and go, okay, I'm just going to pick from these rather than the plethora of rubbish that is out there.
Yeah.
And it was started by one of my very close friends in the space, GrowDigi on Twitter, who's been around since 2013-14 as well. And then me, at Ambroid on Twitter, at MarsMensch, we're all part of the review team. So I will just be doing, brief but thorough fundamental reviews of the projects that are passed through the pipeline.
Yeah.
There won't be 5,000 words like stuff on my blog, but there'll be enough to be a reference point for people looking to do further research. And then Mars will be doing code review. So he'll be looking at, whether there's hidden pre-mines and whether the code matches the wallets that are being released and all that sort of stuff. So it's just basically providing some form of verification.
That's great. That's absolutely great. Okay, so I think I've asked everything I wanted to ask. Is there anything that you wanted to say or mention that we've not discussed?
No, nothing that we haven't discussed. I think the only thing I would like to stress is what we were talking about with market psychology and relationships with money, is that trying to run before you can walk is what will get you killed in the space.
Yes.
And
it's something I think we all do when we first come in as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I did it as well. And,
I know. I can admit that.
Not just that, but when I came back in 2017, I started with overdraft money. So it's not even like I followed the path that I'm trying to tell other people to do, but it's the right one.
Yeah. Yeah, and without question, you really should not be trading with money that you cannot afford to lose.
No, it just makes it harder for yourself, and I think the short term potential to escalate your gains to the point where you're like, wow, this is life changing money, is just not worth the risk relative to if you give yourself a 2, 3, 4, 5 year time horizon. And starting with less money, you're much more likely to achieve what you want to achieve. Yeah.
Twitter handle, if people want to follow you and check you out on Twitter, if I remember correctly, is at CoinTraderNik.
Yep, that's the one.
So that's Nik, N-I-K.
Yep.
And the blog is also located at www.altcointradershandbook.com. Is that correct?
Yeah, you could go to altcointradershandbook.com or altcointradersblog.com. They both go to the same place.
Brilliant. Okay, so that's everything. And
brilliant. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you ever so much. I really, really do appreciate you taking the time out to speak to me. And thanks to you guys, the viewers, for sticking with us throughout this. I know it's been a bit longer than usual. I apologise for the lack of video. Unfortunately, these things do happen. If you've enjoyed this video, why not show some love by smashing that like button? Let us know your thoughts on this video in the comment section below, and if you want to stay up to date with Bitcoin for Beginners' latest videos, then make sure that you hit subscribe and click the bell icon as well to receive notifications of all of our latest updates. I've been Fez for Bitcoin for Beginners. Take care.